Hello, hello, hello. My name is Pamela Abiola and welcome back to my channel. So I'm going to be honest with you, this is a last minute video, but I think it's really, really important that I share what I need to share. So this week my birthday is coming up. By the time you see this video, my birthday would have gone already, but by God's grace, my birthday is coming up and I really want to share this topic with you because I feel like, if I'm completely honest with you, it's something that I've struggled with for a very long time. And I would say that I think over the last year and a half, I've gotten better in this particular area. But before I get into it, I just want to let you know, for those of you who are new, like I said, my name is Pamela Abiola. I am a life coach that is all about helping people become the best version of themselves. I'm also a co-founder of a non-profit organisation called Revive Congo, which is all about educating and equipping young people between the ages of 8 to 21 in the UK and in the DRC. As well as that, I am a mother of two and a wife. I've been married for over, I want to say 6-7 years. But yeah, that's me. If you want to know more about my charity work, more about my life coaching, I will place the link below. But yes, let's get into it. So like I said, this is a very last minute video. When I say last minute, I mean, I'm literally about to go out with my husband before the kids are done at school and nursery. But I just felt led. I felt led to share this. Even if it blesses just one person, I will be happy. Even if this video is just for me, I'll be happy, but it needs to come out. And what I really want to talk to you about today, really quickly, is forgiving yourself. So I've noticed that over the last, like I said, few years, I've really struggled with forgiving myself. I've really struggled with looking back at my past and forgiving myself for the mistakes and my failures. It's like, I feel like sometimes as human beings, we can just literally be so hard on ourselves. We just expect ourselves to be perfect. And one thing I've really struggled with, I think since I was a teenager, is perfectionism. I really just always wanted to be perfect. And I don't know why. Maybe I need to go to therapy for that one. But I feel like I've always struggled with the idea of being perfect. I've always wanted to be perfect, if that makes sense. And the difficulty of wanting to be perfect is that when you get to the point in your life before you get to the point actually in your life that you realize that it doesn't exist, that it can never happen, you can be really, really hard on yourself. You can be your worst enemy, if you like. And I remember even being at university and even being at college. I'll even go back to the college part. I remember being at college and not getting the grades that I needed to get to go to the university that I wanted to go to, because at this time I wanted to study law. I wanted to be a corporate solicitor. I wanted to make them big bucks, right? So I remember I got into my insurance. I didn't get into my first place. I got into my insurance. And I remember just being so depressed and being so hard on myself and speaking so negatively to myself, like, Pam, how did you not get those grades? Were you not revising enough? Were you doing this? Were you doing that? What happened, sort of thing. Now you've kind of ruined your life. Can you imagine? I'm in college and I'm like, I've ruined my life, basically. And I remember after that, I went to my insurance for a year and then I transferred to another university because I wanted to go to a better university so I could have a higher chance of becoming this corporate solicitor. And then when I went to that university, I remember the first year my grades weren't so great. And I was just so hard on myself again, beating up myself and saying, I'm not good enough. I don't work enough. I don't work hard enough. I don't do this enough. And I was just constantly so hard on myself until I believe I got to the point in second and third year and I realized that this is really unhealthy and it's impacting how I see myself, how I perceive myself. And naturally, I'm a very encouraging person. I love to encourage other people. And I was just like, this is so hypocritical of me. How can I be someone that encourages other people and motivates other people, and I don't do the same to myself? I put myself down. So I remember towards the end of university, I changed the way that I spoke to myself. I started to remind myself that I'm actually a human being and I'm not perfect, and all I can do is try and give the rest to God. Anyway, long story short, with my university experience in my final year, I got the best grades that I had ever gotten during my university experience. And you would think that, after understanding that I'm not perfect and after understanding that I shouldn't be hard on myself, that I would be better, right? Like, you would think 10 years later, I'm not talking to myself in such a negative way. But the truth is, I finished university, I went on to do my master's. Master's is hard, first of all. Doing master's straight after university is not for the faint-hearted, is really hard. And I was commuting. My master's was at Essex University, where I studied my bachelor's. And I remember, like, again, being hard on myself, because I'm just like, I need to do better. I need to do better. Finished my master's. Then I started looking for a job in my career. And I fell into the same sort of repetition of being too hard on myself, of when I'm getting an interview and not getting the role, thinking that, I could have done better. Or when I'm doing an application form and not getting an interview, I could have done better. I was always looking at myself and looking and trying to identify the shortcoming. Anyway, 2 years ago, I was sick. You'll find the video on my page, but I was sick in hospital with sepsis, and I was on the verge of dying. And when you're on the verge of dying, especially the time that I was in hospital, you weren't really allowed any visitors because of the nature of my sickness, and because of COVID. I spent a lot of time in isolation. I had to be isolated because of the infection. And I spent a lot of time like reflecting and thinking about life. And I realized that I've gotten it wrong in this aspect of how I treat myself and how I look at myself. I've gotten it wrong in the way that I've approached things. I've approached things in such an unhealthy way that when I don't get my desired outcome, I believe it's because of me. I forget that sometimes I don't get my desired outcome because it's not God's will. I forget that sometimes I don't get my desired outcome because, maybe I could have worked harder, but that's okay. And I was also forgetting, that I've never actually been on this earth before. This is my first time being on this earth. So why do I think that I'm going to get everything right and I'm going to tick every box that I want to tick without any difficulty, without any challenge? There's a quote recently that came to mind when I've gone through a tough time recently, and it's the Winston Churchill quote, which is that if you're going through hell, you keep going. You see, you don't stop in what you're going through and start beating up yourself and thinking, how have I gotten here? Like, what have I done? Is it me? Whatever. No, because if you do that, you will never advance and get to where you need to be. So I say all of that to say that if you find that you are struggling with perfectionism and being perfect, and you struggle when you don't get your desired outcome, I want to put to you that beating yourself up about whatever you're upset about is not healthy, and it doesn't help. You need to be your biggest cheerleader. You don't need to wait for someone else to tell you how good you are or to encourage you. This is not to say that you don't need motivation, because you do. We need the motivation and the encouragement of others, right? But you don't need to wait for that. You can be your biggest cheerleader and you can be your biggest motivator if you train your mind to not go straight into what have I done? Why has this happened? And reprogram it to understanding, actually, what can I learn from this, and how can I do better, or how can I be better? And if it was beyond my control, it's okay. What's the learning here? You don't need to revert into beating up yourself about something that doesn't make sense. I also want to encourage you to look at yourself the way God looks at you. And the only way that you will see and understand and know how God looks at you is if you read your word, if you read the Bible. You can literally Google, what does God say about human beings? Like on Google, what does God say about me? And you will see that God, when he looks at you, when he thinks of you, he says that that he made you in his image and likeness. He says that he's called you to be the head and not the tail. He says that he loves you. So if you look at all of that, whenever you find yourself in a place or in a position that you're not happy with, remind yourself of what God says about you. When you find yourself making a mistake or getting something wrong, remind yourself that you are not your mistake, that you are not your failure. Remind yourself of what God says about you. And also remember that you've never been here before. We're all learners. If you don't know, we are all learners. We've never been here before. We're just trying. We're trying our best. And the only way you can enjoy this, not the only way, that's a bit exaggerated, but a way that you can enjoy the journey better, the way that you can really embrace the journey and make it enjoyable, is if you remember that this is your first time at it. So rather than beating yourself up about it, rather than talking down at yourself, actually speak highly of yourself. Actually remind yourself of the things that you've gone through, the experiences that you didn't like, and remind yourself, actually, I overcame it. I thought that breakup was gonna break me, and it didn't. I'm still standing. I thought that that rejection from a job was going to just be the end of it, but actually, it's not the end of me. And sometimes we need to ensure that we do not allow these things to identify who we are. Yes, we have a career and we have different roles and titles, but that is not us. We shouldn't identify ourselves based on our roles and our titles. We need to identify ourselves based on who God calls us, because that's the tricky part as well. When you lose your job and you're no longer a CEO or a manager, you put in your head, oh my gosh, then what am I? I'm worthless. When actually, no, you're not. That was just a title. Don't identify yourself based on what you have or what you don't have. So I really hope this short video helps. I really hope it makes sense. I really hope it helps at least one person. And as I, go into this next chapter, this next year of my life, I'm believing that I'm going to continue to speak better to myself. I'm going to continue to congratulate myself. I'm going to continue to see myself the way that God sees me. And I hope you decide to do the same. So if this video blessed you, if this video resonated with you, I want you to comment below and say, I'm a work in progress. I am a work in progress. And I also want you to like the video. I want you to share, and I want you to subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. But yes, I hope this blessed you, and I will see you on the next video.